Well, today on Nation, a window cleaners podcast, we're talking all about Waterfed. I'm going to go in depth. I'm going to give you some really good troubleshooting advice. I'm going to help you with, even if you know window cleaning, Waterfed in general, I'm going to tell you some tips and tricks that hopefully you know. And if you're new in Waterfed, I'm going to explain it, break it down, and hopefully by the time we're done, you want to get into Waterfed and you finally made your mind up. So if you're a window cleaner or you're just looking to oddly spend some time listening about window cleaning, cool. Stay tuned to WCR Nation. What's up, everybody? Jersey here from windowcleaner.com, and you are here. What is up? If it's your first time here, what's up? This is a podcast all about the business of window cleaning. It's been going on for 8 years, hundreds of episodes, hundreds of hours of content, and some of them are not bad. Some of them were, maybe toss away. But this one's going to be a great episode. So if you're in window cleaning at all, I'll get to the shameless plug later. But if you want to buy Waterfed, get into Waterfed, upgrade your Waterfed, I'm the guy to talk to because that's what I do. But let's just dive in first and foremost. Now, I want to say, I am a rep for windowcleaner.com. So when I say my opinions and ideas and everything else, it is not that of the WCR. It's that of me. If you talk to me at all, I'm going to give you the ideas, opinions, and all that stuff. I'm going to shoot you straight regardless of what the gear is. So if you think it's a biased thing, that's cool. Think what you want. I'm going to explain a lot of things, kind of breakdowns. If you've already done window cleaning, or I should say Waterfed, we'll go into some troubleshooting things that you may have seen, which will be great. But I want to start by just explaining what Waterfed is, the whole process. So if you're new to Waterfed, by the way, you can always call, ask me, whatever. But here's the process. The process is just as simple. A pure water system, which we'll talk about different types in a second, purifies the water, and it gets you down under 10 TDS, which is total dissolves solids. That's what TDS stands for. By the way, if you read your TDS meter, you already have Waterfed, and it says ppm, that's TDS. ppm stands for parts per million. That's how many TDS is in the water. All right, we'll get into that. But people are always like, yeah, I don't have a TDS meter, I have a ppm meter. No, it's a TDS meter. It's just you're reading two things. Like, I don't have gas in my car. I have MPHs or something, Anyway, so purifying the water gets it to a state where it is actively kind of trying to find minerals. Water, no matter what you see in a beer commercial or on TV, is not absolutely clean and blue, and water wants minerals. It just is happier that way. So when you purify it, it doesn't really activate it or make it phenomenal or whatever. But that water then, because it's pure, wants to take in minerals. And with a brush, you're releasing the minerals bond from the glass. It becomes part of the water and rinses off. This is how the whole thing works. So there's a lot of you out there, if you are using Waterfed, like, I still use soap. Why would you do that? Using soap first does not give you better results because the soap is not going to break down the dirt. It's going to encapsulate the dirt, just like the Waterfed. No, it works way better. Nope. Soap does not have any active anything. Now, if you're into degreasing, that's something different, right? Grease is not water soluble. Obviously, oil and water don't mix. That's something different if you have a window above a grill or something. But if you're using soap, it does not make the window cleaner. It does not make the window shine more. Those are just placebo effects in your head. Okay? But water is an encapsulator. So if you've seen a Dawn commercial, Dawn's a great soap for traditional cleaning, by the way. But that dirt all of a sudden becomes surrounded by the soap, and that's how I can rinse off the glass. It doesn't bond back to the glass. Same thing in Waterfed. We're taking dirt, making it part of the water, and it can't get bonded back to the glass. That's why Waterfed works like it does. And something that's very interesting, when you see that, most windows, when you get a really kind of a good clean, it removes so much of the dirt and texture that you get sheeting on the glass. Now, you've seen, if you've done window cleaning in Waterfed at all, there's two types. There's hydrophobic, meaning the window kind of beads up, and hydrophilic, which means it sheets. We love when it sheets. When it beads up, it makes it a little bit trickier. Get into that. But the process is you just have a system, purifies the water goes up the pole, out the brush agitates while water is going there, taking that dirt, encapsulating it, and rinsing the dirt off.
It's 8 o'clock.
And that's just literally the simple side of the process. Now, in Waterfed, we're scrubbing the frames, rinsing the frames, scrubbing the glass, rinsing the glass. Okay? We don't want to be too far from the glass when we rinse. We want to make sure that it's covered, because if I release all the dirt and I don't rinse the dirt all off, it's going to just bond back on the glass, right? But I need it to be in the water rinses off, okay? Simple process for Waterfed. I'll tell you, when I explain it to customers, not window cleaning customers, but like customers I'm doing actual window cleaning on, I always explain it and say, it's like a spot-free rinse in a car wash, because that is the same process. And I'll fill you in with something. Pure water is like rain. Rain is pure. People are like, well, yeah, I can't do a rain guarantee because the rain dirties the window, as you know. No, it doesn't. Rain does not dirty glass. Does not dirty glass. The only time that can happen is if it hits something on the way down, so it's like really heavily in some trees, and the trees are dirty, and it picks up the minerals. Or it's like acidic rain, which is super, super uncommon. I'm going to nerd out for 1 second, but when you see spots on glass after not water-fed, but just it rains and you get spots, that's not the rain that does that. People think that. That's why people always cancel in the rain, because they think it's just going to dirty the windows. But here's the truth in rain, is your window gets covered in a layer, very fine layer of dirt. The longer you go, the more dirt there is, right? But if you haven't had rain in a long time, there's always dirt in the air, just from blowing wind and everything else. That gets coated on the glass. You can't see it because it's so uniform. You kind of see your windows are a little bit cloudy, but you can't tell. When it rains, all that dirt gets pulled into the rain. Again, pure water is pulling all that dirt. There's no agitation, so it's obviously rain doesn't clean them. But what happens is it gets into those little droplets, and as the droplets dry and that dirt didn't go anywhere, now it's concentrated, and that's why you see droplets afterwards. Hard water is mineral in the same idea, but rain does not dirty windows. So pure water is just like that. So if you do a job, or you see, there's so much misinformation out there online too. You watch stuff and people are like, this pure water ruined the siding. No, it didn't. That's not even possible. Because you don't understand it doesn't mean that it does these things that you don't like. This it's the same reason when people, say, well, you can't use a razor on glass. Just understand the science, and then it makes more sense, right? Okay. But when you watch pure water, it's like a magic wand, and this is technically how it's working. It's technically how the process works. But let's dive into the types. And if you're already in Waterfed, you may have the right one, you may have the wrong one. You may not even know why you got the one you have, but there's two types of system. There is not 3-stage, 4-stage, 7-stage. There's none of that. That's just like a weird marketing thing. I'll get into that. But there's two types. You have a DI tank and you have an RODI. Now, a DI tank is the one that looks like a scuba tank. It's the most common. Bunch of other ones. It is the cheapest way to get into it. But it is only made, and I repeat, only made for soft water areas, which is very, very rare. That's why when you're watching videos, or you're watching, your favorite TikToker, YouTuber, or whatever, they're using like a Zero Pure or something along those lines. It's an RODI, the ones with wheels, kind of have the big silver tube. RODIs work on everything. Hard water, soft water, well water. I mean, you could suck up a puddle with it. DI is only for soft, and soft water is not that common. There's so many times, literally multiple times a week, where people are like, well, I'm going to be pulling this water out of the house, so yeah, it's going to be soft. It's city water. What does that mean? That does not, soft water means the mineral content of the water is under 99 and under in TDS. If your water is that, awesome. You could do a DI. It's going to cost more for resin than it would if an RO DI, but the upfront cost is way, way less. Now, I'm going to talk pricing, and the pricing over years are going to change. So if you're watching this and it's not the time I recorded this, prices may be different. But ballpark, a DI tank, simple as you can get if you're in a soft water area, and only if you're in a soft water area, it's like $359, $360. Where an entry level RODI system, $1,899. So like $1,900. Big difference in what they can do, but big difference in how much it costs to replace all of the filters and resins and keep it running up. Maintenance, which I'll talk about, but that is where it is. Hard water versus soft water is the main piece of this puzzle when you're talking systems. That is the only thing. When you're trying to decide which type of system, that's what it is. Now, I'll tell you, once you get into RODI systems, DI systems are simple. It's a DI tank. It's resin. That's it. RODI systems, now it's all about height and flow. Height and flow. That's where all these systems are. When you look at stuff, you go, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming. There's like 40 systems. I don't know, this one's like $5,000. It must be better. It's not better. It is based off of your need. I'll tell you, I always tell people, say I'm going to go off-roading in the mountains, in the mud. There's some off-road trails. They're hardcore. Black Diamond off-road. Yeah, but you know what? I'm going to buy a Honda Accord because, it's just a kind of entry level. I'm just getting into it. What? Well, yeah, I don't want like an expensive Jeep. It's just my first time going off-roading. What? That doesn't make sense. But in Waterfed, people go, well, I'm just going to start with this is a starter system, and then I'll get a more expensive one. That's not how it works. Systems are all on what you need it for. If you say, I'm doing houses, one user in houses is pretty much, I could do commercial, but everything's under like 3 stories. You can go with a standard RODI, zero pure. Simple. Very inexpensive in the world of RODIs. That's it. Well, yeah, but when I do this, I'll get the zero triple later. That's not what that is. Once you change systems, you go up. There's classifications of standard flow, high flow, which is like the Zero Pure Max, we'll say, my favorite system on the planet. That does double the water flow, less restriction, so it can go higher, farther, longer, that type of thing. And then you get into the triple, which is 3 times the water of the Zero Pure. They can go much higher, much farther, way more flow, multiple people. But if it's just you doing houses, you don't need a triple. It just makes it heavier, more expensive, more water that you're not going to utilize. I mean, there's a cap on this too. If you could have somehow a Waterfed that did 20 gallons a minute, it just would be so much water that it wouldn't make you that much faster. Right? Then you get into powered systems. Then you get into like truck mounts, hydro stations. A hydro station can do 6 gallons a minute, where a Zero Pure is half gallon a minute. Standard flow is half gallon a minute. That means in theory you could run 12 poles at a time. You're not going to do that. Right? That's the type of systems. Now, if you said, I just want more water, single user, 30 foot, I'm going to get the max anyway. Yeah, absolutely. You can do that. It's not a need, it's a want. And I want to have more water. I like that. But once you get above like the max system, so above that like gallon a minute, then you start getting into so much water, so much pressure, it's actually hurting you. So if you get a max power system, we'll say, and I bring this up because I love the Zero line, best warranty, best blah, blah, blah. Put it out there. But the Zero Pure Max Power, which is the top tier as far as production goes in the Zero line, there's so much water and pressure that one user in a house, it actually is going to spot the glass. It's going to splash so much that you're going to have to turn it down. You're going to have to do something to try to regulate it. One pole, it just sucks. It's too much. Right? So when you look at that, you go, okay, well, then I don't need that one. And you're back down to Zero Pure Max. Perfect. The flow rate is awesome, but it's not on what's more expensive. It's on what's best for what you're doing, right? Are you off-roading? Get a Jeep. Don't get a Honda Accord. If you're also, off-roading, don't get a Lamborghini. Oh yeah, that's more expensive, so it's got to be better. No. Understand the function, like what it's for, before you go and buy it. And I'll stop with my shameless plug real quick. If you do need any of this stuff, it's a bit overwhelming. We're just taking 30 minutes to talk about it. But this is what I do. Even if you know what you're doing and you've done this or you think you know, I would love to put your orders in. Literally, it costs nothing extra for you to reach out to me, shoot me a text, 862-312-2026, and be like, yo, Jersey, everything's in my cart. It's saved. Can you put it in? It costs you nothing extra. I get a commission on it, and I can continue living. And that's like a virtual high five. Plus, you become a cool kid, which I know you want to be just like the cool kids. We're all cool kids. Let me put your orders in, please, for that. Also, if you haven't gotten a subscription to the magazine, do that. This is another way that you can keep learning every single month. This is the newest copy. It comes out to your door every single month with stickers, with everything that you could possibly need, from new gear to reviews to articles to how to be better, how to do things. Go to awcmag.com, get that. And also, if you're going to up your game, please make your company legitimate and take it to the next level. Get a CRM. If you're not running a CRM, it's how a real companies run. I love Jobber. I didn't talk about CRMs for 7 years of my podcast because all of them kind of sucked. I did my third demo with Jobber. Jobber is now amazing. There is absolutely nothing that I would want in a CRM that's not already in there. It does so much stuff, you will be blown away. I guarantee, even if you're using Jobber, you're probably not using it to its full potential. So anyway, I have a link because they were nice enough to give that to me. I do get a cut of that too, I think. Anyway, it's down. It's all in the notes. Send me a message. It's like 20% off for the first 6 months. It's phenomenal. Just do that. You're going to just save so much time. Anyway, I'll get off that. So back into Waterfed. We know the system. It's going to be an RODI, going to be a DI. Which one is based off of what you need? Real quick touch on this. Things I told you was completely fake was the stages. Like if somebody's like, well, I want a zero pure, but I'd rather go with a Tucker 4-stage. Zero pure is only 3 stages. That means absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. An RODI system is an RODI system. That's the type of system. The pre-filter on a system, say Zero Pure, the PWP, the IPC Eagle, a lot of different versions, actually the new IPC Eagle. They have one pre-filter, which is a carbon sediment. Does both. If you get something like a 4-stage system, that is the absolute most marketing hype. They just took a carbon sediment filter, it does both, and they got a separate sediment and a separate carbon. You're like, yeah, but there's more filters. No, it's the same exact thing. They just made it more expensive for you to change filters because now you got to buy 2 instead of 1. It doesn't make sense. But I digress. There you go. Now, if you have 2 housings or even 1 housing, change that carbon filter to a chloramine filter. That's something else. If you're watching this, you're like, yeah, none of this information's for me. That one bit of information is for you. They're $20 versus $13. Tell me about it. Call me. I'll get you set up. But swap that out. Anyway. So now we got the system figured out. The hard part. We go to polls. Polls literally are on your capabilities and then budget. In polls, if you say, I'm doing 3-story house, that's max. 1 and 2 stories is like really what I'm doing. You can get literally any pole out there and it will be awesome. And I'll tell you, get carbon fiber and only carbon fiber. For a couple bucks more, it's so hard to even find hybrid crap that I don't even recommend it. Even the stuff we sell, don't buy hybrid. Buy carbon fiber. Carbon fiber is going to be lighter, stiffer, better, can be added to. Anyway, A pole in a Pro Basic, we'll say, basic grade carbon fiber. Every brand has their basic grade. That's fine. If you said I'm doing 7 stories, that's not going to work. Now you're getting into the destroyer class, which is the stiffest pole on the planet in any brand made. But that pole is also good if you're doing just ground level stuff. It's just not needed. Now you're going Honda Accord to a Lamborghini. If you're doing just normal houses, I still love the destroyer. It's my favorite pole, but you don't need that. It's only when you're getting up super high that you need it. You cannot get a Pro Basic and do 8 stories. It's just not going to happen. The pole's going to shatter. It's going to make for a very bad day. Okay? Those are poles. It's overwhelming when you look at it because there's so many versions and types and whatever. You have full length, shorter collapsed, composite. That's it. Super simple. If you're like, yeah, you know what? I won the lottery yesterday. What should I get? Get the best pole on the planet, the Destroyer. Get that. It costs more. It's like double the price. But it's really, really good. And you'll never paint yourself into a corner. But if you're like, yeah, I didn't win the lottery yesterday, then get whatever you want. Well, get a Zero Pro. That's probably, as far as just best bang for your buck, I think that's it. Anyway, I digress. I'm not trying to sell all this equipment. I do that, obviously, but that's not the idea. Anyway, let's get back to it. So that's your pole. Poles exactly like that. Now, brushes on your poles are what doesn't work. So a brush, there's 3 type composite-wise. There's more than that. The most common ones is a nylon, hybrid, and a boar's hair. Hybrid means it's nylon on the outside, boar's hair in the center. Boar's hair is just all boar's hair. Boar's hair will always scrub better, but it will wear faster. So pros and cons, right? Well, what brushes do I need? You literally, every pole sold comes with a hybrid. Stick with that one to start. It's a great all-around brush. There are brushes that will scrub better. There are back attachments. There's all that stuff, but it's not needed. There's a difference between want and need. If you got the budget to get your wants, sweet, we'll hook you up. If you just got to get what you need to start making some money, it's not the last time you're going to buy it, right? But the pole in a Destroyer versus a Pro, the Destroyer will always clean better. Always, 100% of the time, no questions, no difference, doesn't matter. If you're going same brush on both poles, the Destroyer will always scrub better. Why? Because it's stiffer. The stiffer poles is not weight. All poles are light. The stiffness is what matters, because the stiffness is your fatigue, but it's also your scrubbing power. If I can put 5 pounds of pressure onto a pole and it translates to the brush, that's great. But on something else that's super flexible, if I put 5 pounds and only 1 pound gets up, I can't scrub as well. So when people are like, well, I do Waterfed, it just doesn't get as good as my scrubber. Yeah, because you have the lowest grade pole. Like, what do you, yeah, like you have to scrub a little bit more, right? So it comes into play. Can you do it in both of them? Yes, but 20 brush strokes instead of 5. That's the difference, okay? Poles are budget related and what you're trying to do, but that's it. Maintenance on systems, it all depends on the system, but your maintenance costs on, say, a Zero Pure, super affordable also. You're talking about a pre-filter for $20 that you're changing out every month or 2. Your resin is what your TDS is going to tell you. That's going to be 4 to 6 weeks for $40 in resin. That's it. The RO lasts you 2 years. Upkeep costs in an RODI is incredibly low. DI system, not so much. You're spending $140 in resin on a DI tank, and that could be spent literally in 1 day, depending on how bad your water is. But the costs, incredibly affordable. Can we make $100 an hour? You know, you buy it, the best package we have right now, as far as just bang for your buck deal, sale, everything's like $2,900. That's 29 hours of work. Like, you could pay that off in a week. Like, it is expensive compared to a squeegee, but pure water is just, it's very inexpensive for what it does. I digress. But let's get into troubleshooting. This is where you guys that are still listening, that have done Waterfed, you're like, I know all this stuff, you're babbling. Tell me some things I don't know. Let's get into troubleshooting, because maybe you've had some issues with trouble, something didn't turn out the way. I'll tell you, here is, if you're getting spotting Now, by the way, this magic wand is science. It will always work. If you're at under 10 TDS, it's not spotting the glass. There's telling you there's nothing in the water. If it's spotting, you're getting minerals, dirt from somewhere else. The number one culprit is you're rinsing too far from the glass. When you rinse, you want to be within 12 inches of the glass. Because if you look up there and the pressure's coming out so high it's making mist, you're getting water everywhere on the siding, soffit, fascia, everything, back on the frames, and then it's coming back to the glass. You're bringing that dirt back on there. Do not rinse super far away. Do not have a ton of pressure. Don't make a mist. This is why when you go to a rinse bar, which if you're brand new, that's just a way to rinse. It's just an attachment you put on the brush for like $30. That rinse now is on the glass in a rinse bar. I can't even figure out how to do it. You would not spot with a rinse bar. You just wouldn't. If you've done that right, you won't spot. You won't spot even with jets if you do it right, but you know what I'm saying. Because a rinse bar, you always rinse when the brush is still on the glass. You don't pull it off the glass to rinse with the rinse bar. If you are, you're doing it wrong. You're making it so much harder on yourself. That's the number one thing. Second thing is make sure you're doing the frames. Scrub them up and down the left, side to side on the top, up and down on the right. Rinse the frames, then do the glass. If you're not, or you're rinsing the glass and getting water back on the frames afterwards, you're just picking up all the dirt that didn't come off the frames. It's coming back on the glass. That's it. No, I'm doing all of that, and my TDS is 0, and it's still spotting. It just doesn't work. I tried it. It just doesn't work. This is science. Science. You're doing it wrong. You're still doing it wrong. No, I've been a window cleaner 20 years. Have you? But this is your first job trying Waterfed? How do you think you're going to be? Well, I know window cleaning. You don't know Waterfed. It's a new thing. Please, just give it some practice. Practice. Well, I've been doing it. Doesn't turn out right. Then you're doing it wrong. Gosh, it's like, I've raced in a NASCAR race, but I don't know. Something's wrong because I have not won every one. I've been racing for quite a while. Yeah, you're doing it wrong. Like, figure that out. Anyway, that's the main part. If you have a system and it is a RODI and your system is not producing water, you're trying and you're like, man, I'm just not getting any flow. Like I extend my pole and nothing happens. I'm still getting wastewater, but nothing's coming out. My system's clogged. My RO is clogged. I looked and there's no water coming out of the RO. That's right, but it's not your RO. Your pre-filter in an RODI system is the main culprit for pressure loss. And the reason is we're throwing out numbers. 60 PSI out of the tap. You need 30 PSI of that to just squeeze the water through the RO. That's why you get so much less flow out of it, because it takes away 30, you only have 30 PSI. But when your pre-filter starts dropping in pressure, it starts getting clogged. Now all of a sudden, instead of 60 PSI on the tap, it's already robbing some. Now you have 40 PSI left. That goes through your membrane. Still took the same 30. And now, A, you don't even have 30, so it's not coming out. But B, you're getting this little weird trickle, and as you extend the pole, there's not enough PSI to lift the water. And you're like, no, it's the RO. I need a new RO. It's bad. No. So absolutely rare for a RO to be bad. Now, you can follow them over time. That's something different. That's a separate test, simple test. Change your pre-filter. I get this question 3 times a day. Hey, I'm not getting any flow with my Wooka. Change your pre-filter. No, that's not it. I changed it last week. I don't care when you changed it. Change it now. Because I'm telling you that's going to be the issue. If it's not, then we'll jump to the next one. But it is so commonly the issue that is always the first thing you want to try. It's the cheapest. Just change your pre-filter, then let's talk. If it's still an issue, cool. Let's get some numbers, get some readings, let's figure it out. But it's almost always a pre-filter. People are just like, no, that's not it. Pre-filter looks clean. You cannot see 5 microns getting gunked up, right? Those are the main things in Waterfed. I have flow issues. I have spotting. Very, very simple fixes. the thing I always say with Waterfed is because if I hand you a squeegee, or go down the street, I've said this a bunch, but go to anybody on the street, hand them a squeegee and go clean that window. They do it and they go, oh man, I'm so bad at that. Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. This is terrible. I'd have to practice. This is my first, Nobody goes, oh, this squeegee's broken. That doesn't work. Because they understand that the squeegee's pulling the water off. They left it. They get it. But in Waterfed, because it's a science thing, people don't really understand what it is. And they get this system. They go, man, I spent all this money on this magical thing. It doesn't work. No, it does work. You're doing it wrong. No, it doesn't work. I'm doing it right. Really? How in the world did you manage to do it right and prove science wrong? If there's 0 things in the water and you're getting spotting, it's not in the water. Like, it's not coming from the system. It's coming from you. So many people kind of they don't know what it works, don't know how it works really. So if something happens when they're like trying to figure it out, again, you got to learn how to do something. Nobody jumps on a bike like, oh, this is easy. Look at me do wheelies. Like, you got to learn how to ride the bike. That's the key to Waterfed. But because a lot of people don't know what it is or how it works or anything, they go, oh, this doesn't work. A couple times a year, you get somebody like that. It just doesn't give it the time. And they're like, yeah, I tried Waterfed, doesn't work. I want to return it. What? Yeah, no, I did my house and there were spots. Yeah, it worked. What was your reading? Oh, the TDS reading was 2. Perfect. Yeah, but it left spots. No, it didn't leave spots. You left spots. No, I know what I'm doing. How would you possibly know? Right? Give it a shot. But that in Waterfed is as a whole. And I'm telling you, I rushed through that. There's so much more in Waterfed. Maybe you've been doing this 100 years. Maybe you've been doing this for 30 minutes. I want to be your rep for that. I want to help with that. But I also like to get paid. So that's why I like to put orders in. And I put orders in big or small, does not matter at all. That rhymed, it didn't mean to. But when I put orders in, it doesn't cost you a penny extra. Same as if you went on the website, but you help old Jersey out. So do that. Shameless plug, I know, but it wears people down, and eventually, it wears people down, right? But thank you guys really for letting me keep doing what I do, and people who let me put orders in and who get the magazine, awcmag.com, American Window Cleaner Magazine. Those are the people who let me continue to live and buy food for my family and for me. Yeah. And I hope you get into Waterfed. It's absolutely the most amazing technology on the planet. If you have questions or want to get something ordered, please let me know. I'd love, just be your guy. 862-312-2026 is my cell. Text me, call me. I'm on the phone all day, so text me is always better. But do whatever you feel. More importantly, until next week, go out there, get into Waterfed, or be better at Waterfed, or get more Waterfed. But more importantly, go out there and be epic.